Two social workers on a mission to change the narrative, Millennial Babies podcast seeks to empower others in making changes to maintain their physical, emotional, and mental health. This podcast is about becoming the best version of ourselves. I hope you feel inspired. Join Bria Spencer and Fadia Jean-Pierre bi-weekly as they initiate conversations about mental health, fitness, and travel. Share this with someone who needs it. Follow us on Instagram at millennial_babes_podcast, and let's continue the conversation. Welcome, ladies, to the Millennial Babes podcast. Again, my name is Bria Spencer, and of course, you know, my cousin Fadia Jean-Pierre. And today, we're just going to be talking about Unearthing and Bloom and getting to know you ladies. So today, our guests are Zakiyyah and Khadijah, twin sisters who are intergenerational healers who teach us what it means to heal subconscious wounds that leaves parts of our being fragmented and on a journey to becoming one with our higher self.
Yes. Yeah, so welcome, guys. I'm excited to have you guys here on the Millennial Babes podcast as our guests, and we are looking forward to have this conversation with you all, and can't wait to hear about how did it start and what did it all mean. Is there anything else you want to share with us and our audience?
But I think y'all got it.
Y'all did a good job. That was good. I was like, well, can I have that spill?
So with that being said, as you heard, we're going to talk about, unheard and like our fragmented self. So tell us a little bit about how did you guys birth Unearthing and Bloom? Like, what is the purpose of Unearthing and Bloom?
Yeah, you want to take this? Because it actually started off with Khadijah.
So Zakiyyah was already doing her own thing in her own business, doing like
their individual therapy
already, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was actually just doing my own thing, trying to create a business. Knew I wanted to do some sort of entrepreneurship work with yoga and mindfulness and different things like that. And long story short, I was applying for a grant, a social justice grant, and it was down to the last minute, and I was like everything out on the table, trying to figure things out and what to put in this grant, how are these things going to work out, really have my focus, really be able to draw out my focus in a clear way. And Zakiyyah came there and she assisted, and it all made sense in the way that she assisted. And before then, I was like, I want to do this business. I'm going to have a business partner. Let me try to find out, I will meet people and like, maybe they'll be a good business partner or whatever. And so when she helped me, it was like an automatic, like, why aren't we doing this work together? Like, why haven't we thought about that? And so it sort of took off from there. And when we told people about it, they were like,
it makes so much sense.
It makes sense. One, do psychotherapy, focus on meditative practices in the mind and things stored in the mind, and one focuses on the body and alleviating trauma from the body. And so it sort of just came together from there.
It was like a magical moment because we thought about it, and then we traveled shortly afterwards to go home. And so we kind of mentioned it to family, like, this is something that we're thinking about. And they were just like, yeah, of course. Like, it wasn't like, oh, congratulations. It was like, yeah, duh. Okay, so, and we were just like, really, duh? Okay, well, duh, we should be doing it together.
And then too, like, we both are passionate about the same things. And values align. And we both are deeply invested in the freedom and liberation of particularly Black women and girls, but people of color, and what that means. And so we just started thinking about what is the core of our work, and to, unearth the really intergenerational healing and all that. And so the name Unearthing and Bloom came up after a couple of meetings.
A couple of meetings and a couple of words and a couple of words to describe us
and who we are,
Capricorns and Earth people. And Earth, And so Unearthing and Bloom was very fitting. I think it clicked for both of us right away when those two words came together.
Yeah, and I can say also, like, after meeting the both of you guys and traveling to Haiti together, I can sense the connection of like the spirit, the way we connected like spiritually, right? With everything that we're doing. And as you talk about unearth. We have to unearth before we can bloom. And so with that being said, and thank you for that wonderful description of how you guys came together, because sometimes we don't even realize that the person we should be doing something with is like right under our nose. It's like the same thing that happened. That's the same thing that happened with me and her. It was kind of like, who should we do this with? And we're like, we are in a line with everything that we're doing. So why, so like sometimes we don't even see what's in front of you, and you just need that little hello. Exactly.
It's right
so
there.
I know I go on you guys' Instagram all the time, and I know you guys, of course from traveling and working together, but just for our audience and talking about Unearth and Bloom, you guys really, like, your page, your platform really highlight that and focusing on the mind body. And so how can our audience or anyone can start to unearth themselves as individuals so that they can start to heal like their past trauma?
Yeah, I think one of those things is recognizing that there's something, right? A lot of times individuals want to know what is it, right, that's in their bodies, right? What is it that's holding them back? What is the trauma, right? They want to kind of like connect to a certain memory, right? And so the work that we do is saying that you don't have to really have the memory, right? You don't really have to have the conscious memory of what happened, because your body holds that memory. And so you can begin to work with your body, right? Of moving those things out of your body. And so that's one of the things that we offer is like the meditation and the yoga and different information on how to move trauma out of the body, and also how to become aware of anything that's happening around you, right? Maybe it's not like a capital T trauma, but maybe it's something about you feeling anxious for a day about a test or an exam, right? And so acknowledging those different things that happens in your body.
Thank you for sharing that. It also makes me think about how we store trauma in our body.
Yes.
And I know you guys talk about that. Can you explain a little bit more? Like, how does one know how their body holds trauma? For some people, they don't even realize.
Right. I was, as Zakiyyah was talking, I was actually thinking about a tree or a plant, right? When you plant something, it goes down to the root, and the root starts to do its own thing, and it takes hold to the dirt and the soil, and it starts to like, it's just there. Take your root. It's going deeper and deeper and deeper and wider, right? And like it's just like flowing all around. And then sometimes we forget to water those plants. Right. And we forget we forget to water it, but also we forget what's underneath. And so we just like go about our days as if we're the flower ourselves, right? We just go about our days. We seeing the bloom, or we seeing the smiles, we seeing all of this, we seeing the nice, beautiful colors, and we relishing in that, but we know that there's deep pain on the inside, or we feel that there's something that's like keeping us stuck or keeping us stagnant. Like, what is that? What's happening, right? And we're not paying attention to the underlying, what's behind the smile, right? Yeah. What are the roots saying? What's happening at the roots and at the core of your being? And as Zakiyyah was saying, there are often times that we forget what the core of that thing is, but our bodies remember, we react in a certain way. And so we always say, instead of first trying to get to the root of the thing, address what's coming up for you. Oh, I'm feeling this way. I'm feeling sad. So address that, address the sadness. And then as you continue to do the work, you get down to the root of things. And then also we are intergenerational, workers. Yeah. So some of the things we don't even, not our own experience, it's our mothers and our grandmothers and our great grandmothers, and those things are existing in our bodies and in our memories, and in our psyche, in our body memory, and our DNA, and all of that. And so we were acting off of those things. And so the main thing is to just start to respond to what you can see, and acknowledge.
Yeah, I love that you said that we're intergenerational healers. And so we connect with our mothers. And so we were born from them. We have their DNA. So we carry on whatever traumas that they've experienced, in their life and how they were raised. And so I think about, how can we heal our fragmented self? And how do you define that?
The fragmented self. So the fragmented self is part of us. So we exist as multiple selves, right? And our self show up at different times. So perhaps we have, we talk about the 5-year-old self,
Yes.
right? How the 5-year-old self holds a particular trauma or have a particular experience maybe around neglect. And then we're older adults and we're moving throughout life, and something happens around neglect or that reminds us of that experience, and our 5-year-old self comes up
in that moment.
In that moment, right? We call that the fragmented self, because the reason why it's fragmented is because we don't really know about it, and it's something that has an impact on our lives, and it's not like a holistic.
It's unresolved.
It's unresolved.
Okay.
Right. It's unresolved. So it's not something that we are that we know of, that maybe we are aware of, right? It's fragmented. And so really to heal the fragmented self is, I'm not sure if that was the question too, is like how to heal or how to address the fragmented self. But we address the fragmented self by saying, okay, there's some neglect that's coming up.
But
acknowledging, like, my response is this, am I responding to this person? Am I responding to something else, to a parent when I was 5 years old, right? Because we're blinded by that, and we're not really responding to the situation or the person in front of us. We're responding to the moments that we weren't able to respond when we may have been younger,
when we didn't have the words or the language. And now we have the language, and so that's when we begin to respond as our 5-year-old selves.
And your fragmented self could be 2 years ago, right? You can fragmented self that was 2 years ago in an abusive relationship, or a fragmented self when you was at work and really in a racial environment, right? And was silenced or felt that you couldn't speak freely. So sometimes we walk around with different fragments of ourselves that shows up when we don't acknowledge it, or when we choose to just say, well, this is another part of my life, I'm just going to keep on going, instead of saying I need to heal this.
And something that that was coming up in my mind is, as you both were talking about this, is that when we become detached from what's happening with our body, like we avoid dealing with it, that's detaching from it. But it's also like when it comes back, it's a signal. It's like a unhealed wounds that are like signaling us in our mind, our body, saying like, there's something going on. Like there's this memories coming up. I don't know where it's coming from. And as much as you want to detach from it, you can't really detach from it. You have to address it. And like you said, Zakiyyah, we have to acknowledge that. And if you don't acknowledge it, it's going to keep showing up as our adult life, in our adult life, in different situation. And you're sitting like with, okay, what's happening here? I just experienced this event and I'm emotionally distressed and I don't know how to deal with it. And so therefore, here I am trying to figure out how to like heal my trauma, and I don't know. And then my body is storing all these memory and I keep going. And then the more you detach, the more memory you're storing to that body. And the body is getting to the point of saying like, listen, I can't keep taking on this memory. Like you keep feeding me memories, you're not dealing with it. And this distress is overwhelming. And I can no longer detach. It's like you're breaking down.
The way that I am interpreting it is that you have anxiety. Like you can show up very anxious like throughout your day and trying to figure out like what is going on, or if you're overthinking, or even in your relationships, like if you're lashing out, even if it's friends or with coworkers, and not understanding where that's coming from. So I feel like it takes a lot of self-awareness. And when those moments do come up, trying to take a step back to be like, okay, like I really have to address this, and what can I do to break it down, to recenter?
Or even some self-awareness, right? Oftentimes we feel that we have to have a bunch of awareness, or like be really, really grounded, right, in order for us to start fixing or working on ourselves. But even some sort of awareness, like, I probably shouldn't have responded that way, right? Let me take a toll of my patterns. Is this a pattern of mine? Also talk to the people around you. I like to do this thing with my clients called reality check, right? What is a reality that like, I feel that, no, I only did that once because this person did that. But the people around you are saying like, no, you actually respond this way every time, right? And so assess the patterns of how you respond to others. And then you get to say, okay, maybe this comes from something. And even if you don't know where it comes from, you can still begin to work on that and acknowledge like why you're responding the way you're responding, knowing that something that may be left unhealed.
Yeah, definitely. And something I noticed you guys do also, and from watching the both of you guys, is you use your body. And I know you did like an ancestral video, connecting with your ancestors to kind of like connect with yourself. Can you share a little bit more about that? Why it's important to connect with your body, just so that we can heal those fragmented pieces that are coming up at different time in our lives.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that we are really talking about now is disembodiment, the difference between being disembodied and embodied. And disembodied is really a survival technique to get us out of our bodies so we can be able to go to work go to work the next day, so we can be able to be there for our children, so we can be able to get from point A to point B, right? And so our trauma gets us outside of our bodies and have us not feel things. I don't want to feel this pain. I don't want to feel this anxiety. I don't want to do A, B, and C. And so automatically our bodies goes into survival mode, and it keeps going, but the memory also gets stored in the body, right? And there are moments where we are so much in our heads that we don't pay attention to what our body is saying. We don't pay attention to our heart beating fast, or our stomach turning, or our sweaty palms, or even if our heart isn't beating fast, if it's just like we have ease, right? We don't take the moment to be embodied enough to appreciate the ease in our life and how much we are breathing deeply, and all of those things, which is also a part of like intergenerational healing, or having an awareness of generations that came before us is really one of the things that connects us to our bodies. Right. So we always talk about like the rock of my grandmother. So my grandmother and my mom, when something's wrong or they need to breathe a little bit deeper, they do this rock. Right? I think we know it. It's an ancestral thing.
Yeah.
It's a body memory. Even if we haven't done it, we've seen it. And so we end up starting to do this when something's wrong. We're like, ooh,
Yeah.
Or the leg is shaking.
Right. Or the leg is shaking, but it's self-soothing. Right. We soothe ourselves in that way, not really even connecting to our bodies, but our bodies is like, okay, rock. Just rock. And it's very ancestral, and it's something that our mothers and our grandmothers and grandfathers, all of them have done before us. And we use these intergenerational practice to connect with our ancestors and to be able to release traumatic memory in this realm, in this physical realm, right? Be able to release that from our bodies. And so the meditation in itself and calling the ancestors in is a way to say, okay, I honor my practice and my body, but I acknowledge that my healing is not mine alone, that is connected to the healing of those that came before me. Right? So
that's powerful.
Right. So even though we are here in the physical realm, doesn't mean that we are healing only for ourselves.
We get to heal those that came before
us.
Even
and that manifests into healing the generations before us, especially when we have our own children.
And afterwards. So right. So now I stop it here. We always say like cut generational curses and different things like that, and I think that's a language we use all the time, but really what does that mean? And do we really believe it? And then how are we speak, not only saying, okay, let's cut generational curses, but what are we saying about the healing aspect and freedom? I'm calling freedom into my life, for my sake, for the sake of my children, for the sake of those who came before me. So this is the way that I choose to honor those that came before me. And this is my way of like speaking intergenerational wealth into my life, right? And mind, body, and spirit. Yeah.
And I think that's what connected me so much to you guys is like, I did the ancestral video, right? I did the meditation like you did. And I found myself like, I was in tears.
Oh, I cried.
I was like, okay, why am I crying? And then I was like, oh my God, it hit me because I was already doing work. I lost my mother a few years ago. And so I've been like finding myself going through these different experiences. I'm like, where's this coming from? And I'm like, my mother used to go through this. And because she never learned how to heal, how to deal with them. So it I felt it was passed down to me. And so like now I have to figure out how to heal from this trauma so I don't have to carry this on. And so I was having a lot of anxiety about a lot of things, and I was afraid to do certain things because I was faced with fears. And I'm like, no, I can't keep doing this. I can't live like this. I'm not happy. And I just felt like it was like a sense of release. And just to hear like, okay, like it's okay. You can like, you're gonna be okay. You don't have to be afraid to do this alone. I know like I have support, and I have like Bria, I come back to, I'm like, hey, I had a dream. She came to visit me. She had a message, or this is happening. And so like just having those connection and that's and having a better understanding of what it is, I think that's what's like helping me to become like a better version of myself.
Yeah.
And I can relate to that. My dad passed away last year, and then my sister passed away 11 years ago. And so I was going through a really rough time in the fall, and just not having a lot of questions and very anxious and sad. And she sent me the ancestral meditation. She's like, Bria, just do this. And I really wanted to just connect with either my dad or my sister, because they were the ones that I can lean on. And so when I did the meditation, I saw my dad, and the tears were just flowing, and it just felt so surreal and just in the moment. And to also hear like you're going to be okay, and to feel like an actual hug, like that was my experience. And so to come out of that, I was just like, okay, it like elevated everything for me and like my feelings. And so I feel like that's like an aha moment. So me meditating has become a very big practice for me, where I'm able to just recenter, but also connect with, my spirits and my ancestors, to be able to be still and listen. So I thought that was very powerful, and thank you for that meditation.
That gave me the chills, because I thank you for sharing that. Yeah, because we do our work, and we put our work out there, and we hold space in particular ways, and a lot of it is really, oh, this worked for me. Yeah, this has to work for someone else. Oh, this, I was able to experience this. So I don't know who needs this or how many people, but I'm putting this out there. We're putting this out there, and wherever it lands, it lands. And so to know that both of you all were able to connect with your loved ones, it in probably ways that you didn't imagine that you it's really, it's beautiful. Yeah. So thank you so much for even participating in that.
Of course. Yeah, and I think also too, like just being around the both of you guys too, also too, like in Haiti, just even before we went to Haiti, and now following your page and just kind of like hearing the message, it's like just to hear the phrase unearth and bloom, for me it was kind of like, okay, what does that mean for me? What do I need to let go of? Like understanding, like just you have to unearth in order to bloom.
Yeah, cool thing. I think we have our survival techniques that have worked. To some extent. It got us up in the morning, it got us to work, it got us putting on our makeup, so it needs to do. It did, yeah. And that at some point our bodies are going to say, remember this? Yeah.
Yes.
Remember this incident? Yeah. And remember that? We're going to be like, wait, hold up. Yeah. But one of the things that we always say is that we get to unearth and bloom over and over and over, and in aspects of our lives. So maybe we are unearthing these insecurities, but we have a bunch of other things that we haven't unearthed yet, and that's fine.
you know, and take the unearth and bloom in like in increments. If there's one aspect of your life that's unearthing and another part is blooming, relish in the bloom while the other one is unearthing. You know, you don't have to do all of it at the same time.
Yeah, that's important to say too, because I feel like some people, we often feel like we have to take upon everything. and heal everything at once, when really you just have to take it and compartmentalize and just take it step by step.
Surviving isn't meant to be a lifestyle, right? It's something that's there to protect us, to say that, okay, I'm going to hold you for this moment until you get over this a little bit, but we adopt it as a lifestyle, and we're surviving, right, through our lifetime. But it's not meant to be a lifestyle. It's meant to help us survive in that moment. That's good, girl. Girl, that was good.
That is yes.
But you know what? It's so funny as we're talking about this, and I can feel like the energy. Yeah. And I think that what really made me really want to push forward was I know Zakiyyah, we had a phone call together, right? And that phone call, I was just like, okay, I'm in like totally like tears, and I'm just like, and even right now, like I feel like it's just gonna overflow. But it just shows me, like, for me, like, there's so much you need to work on. And at the end of the day, once you're done with all the things that you think you need to do and you're sitting with yourself, that's when it hit. You know, I think for me, it was more like when they come, it's like I'm allowing myself, okay, all right, just face it, girl.
I feel like spirit will show you too.
Yes.
Yeah. Spirit will show you the same thing over and over again. And it's like, okay, girl, are you ready right now?
They haven't left me alone.
And they won't. They won't. I was on my altar this morning, like, really? Seriously?
Yeah.
Okay. And I love confirmation, right?
At
the moment, I was trying to figure out what's going on with my skin, right? And I was like, let me go on the altar to kind of like figure this out, what's going on. And I got answers. I'm just like, I wasn't expecting like that much clarity, right? But it's what's sitting still, right? Allowing yourself to listen. Right. And allowing yourself to acknowledge that there's something that's going on. Right. And I need to take care of it. Right. Mentally, emotionally, physically, right. Spiritually. Right. Allowing ourselves to be aligned and connected on that level. One of the things I did want to say when you were talking before about like the unearthing and blooming and the surviving is that we spend so much time trying to unearth. Of course, because there are things that's stopping us from moving forward in life, and I really want us to spend a lot of time in the blooming process, right? And so those things that need to unearth, allow them to do so and work on those. But those things that are blooming, feed those things that are blooming, like really get deep into that, because so much, like Zakiyyah said, so much of our lives shouldn't be surviving. And we should, the purpose of living is not just to survive. We actually have to live. We actually get to live, right? And we always talk about like a tool of white supremacy is to keep us so wrapped up in surviving that we don't have time to live. Like we're so worried about A, B, and C. We so worried about this and that. We're fighting for freedom. Instead of aligning ourselves with freedom, because we are free. And so we get to have, we know what it feels like to be free. And so we want others to have that same thing as well. But instead it's like, let me align, let me fight for this and get free when everyone gets free, and let me continue to wrap myself up in this continuous cycle when our bodies and our mind and our spirit and our energy is saying, but get free now. Other areas that you're blooming in, like bloom, and focus your attention also on the part that you're blooming, right? Celebrate that, water it, overwater it, right? They won't die, right? And with blooming, you have the permission to overwater, right? Over and over again.
Wow,
I love that. That got me speechless.
Me too.
Just as you mentioned earlier, and just everything connecting with the ancestral, right? You call out to your ancestors whenever you're starting like your meditation or just like yoga practices. And so what is can you share the importance of acknowledging our ancestors, and like, because we're healing past traumas, we're healing like their trauma so that we can heal ourselves and continue to heal, you know, for future generation. And so how does that play a huge role in your practice and when you're working with individuals?
Yeah, one of the things that happens for us is calling our ancestors in, right? Those who have passed away and those who are still here, right? The ones that came before us, they ground us, right? And remind us that the reason why we're doing this work, right? One of the things that our father, who also passed away, makes us like so comfortable, right? And so if my daddy is here, right, then we're good, right?
Yes.
So being able to say his name and call him in this space, it just gives us that much of, all right, daddy, you here? So, you know, we're ready. And also it's intergenerational. And so how can we do this work without calling the people that have came before us, without saying Abdul Mateen, right? And acknowledging the person who gave us our last name, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like how can we? And I think that's and I appreciate other people actually adopting it as well. Like so many other people are saying, like, I noticed that you call the people names before you do the work, and it encouraged other people to do that as well. And we say to that, like, that's great, that's good, right? Because we get to do that. We get to not only call their names when we're in our sacred place in our rooms, but also when we are doing these magical things, magical workings, allowing them, because we're also healing generations, right? Past that names who we don't know, names who we may never know, right? We're still able to do the work to heal their trauma as well.
Yeah.
I was actually thinking about that too when we were going through and doing our thing. I was like, we didn't ground ourselves. We grounded ourselves together before this.
Ooh.
Like we always do. Every time we hop on a call, every time we have a meeting, every time we do something, we ground ourselves in that way. And then there was some point throughout here, you know, it's funny that you asked that I was like, should I stop it now and ground ourselves?
If you need to, we can definitely, we're welcome that.
Before we get off, I mean, definitely before we get off, I think that there should be a moment of like grounding whenever that come up. I mean, it can be now, it can be right before we close. But you know, I think that it is important to, and if you too, you know, invite your people and call upon them as we continue to do the generational healing work.
Sure. I think it's calling for that right now, because I can feel it. Like I said, since we came on, I felt the energy. So like flow.
And for some reason, like it's interesting, because for some reason, like my dad and my sister, like I want to say their name. Throughout this entire meeting, they've just been heavy on my mind. Even throughout all today, I feel like I need to connect with them.
And I'm just feeling everything is like, as you're talking and everything, I'm just feeling everything is like coming down, but it's like going into my womb. Like I'm feeling like the sensation in my womb right now. And I'm just like, and as we're talking, I'm feeling like the womb, but I'm feeling the energy is all right here. So right here. And I'm just like, why am I feeling this way right now? Like this.
No, it's like it's like a tap, like hello. Hello.
Y'all not gonna, hello, y'all not gonna, hello. That's awesome.
So guys, you have the floor.
Yeah, we can definitely ground ourselves. And then when we're done, you can feel free to call up on whoever you want to call upon.
Okay.
You know, and we do this in whatever way you like, whatever language you want to speak. And we do that. We do this to honor those that came before us, and to really ensure that we, as much as they are feeding into us, we are honoring them, and like, and that we are not in this alone as we continue to do this intergenerational freedom work, right? This intergenerational embodied work, this intergenerational love work, all of it. I'm Khadijah Abdul. I'm Zakiyyah Abdul, and we are the daughters of Mary and Yahya Abdul, the granddaughters of Dorothy Mae Jackson, Thomas Earl Dale, Sam and Evelyn Ford, the great-granddaughters of Elizabeth Ruth Gillen, and the great-great-granddaughters of Eliza.
and many ancestors that have come before us, those whose names we know, those whose names we don't know and may never know, but those who are always here with us to guide us, to be with us is every step of the way as we continue this Unearth and Bloom journey and this work.
So I am Bria Spencer. I am the daughter of Herbert DeJean and the sister of Rosha DeJean. I am the granddaughter of Fizame Joseph and the granddaughter of Anita Joseph. And I call on to them and my ancestors whose names that I don't know.
My name is Fadia Nathanael Jean-Pierre, and I am the daughter of Marie Carmen Boiteux, the granddaughter of Imen Boiteux Contant and Maurice Contant. And I call on them and all the other ones that I'm not aware of to be here with us.
Ooh. Shay.
Ashe. I felt that
Oh
one.
my God. You're gonna make me cry.
I know.
Ooh,
I love it.
I felt the energy.
strong. They get here strong, right?
Yeah.
I want to be a part of this healing work.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about the connection with you guys is that, like, even if I'm close or not close, just connecting in that work. It's like the way, because it's like I knew I needed to connect in some way, but I never knew how. And so having those connection and being connected with my mom again in that way, and I just know she's with me. And I'll call her and I'm just like, this just happened. I don't know what to make sense of it. And sometimes because I'm like trying to understand what's happening, I'm missing out on the message. And so I'm getting the message in different places that you been asking for or you need for your soul, basically.
Oh yeah, because her mother has come to me and I said, listen, I've never had a dream about your mother, but she came through blazing with guns and like, tell her this. I said, okay. I said, okay.
You're knocking on everybody's door.
I called her, I was like, Fadia, come on.
I got something to tell you.
Exactly. And I think that's why I said, like, I've been feeling it like in my womb, like it's going into my womb. This is where it's like it's pulling from. And I'm just like, okay, all right, you need to find the space, create the space for yourself because you need that right now.
Yeah, and when you think about the chakra system, the womb, that's our third chakra. So that's where all of our power and our fire and all of that comes from. Intuition, all of that. So really like firing that up to like, okay, what's happening? Yeah. And I also wanted to say it's like mental health professionals, all of us in the Black community, this conversation where we're talking about mental health and we're talking about spirituality and we talk about ancestral work, right? Mm-hmm. And you know that for some it may be taboo, right? For some it may be like, oh, that's a little bit too much, and to that I think folks can really like take that and take it step by step, really, access, or tune into the spirituality in the way that they would like.
That's comfortable for you.
That's comfortable and that's safe and comfortable. And I do know that tapping into your intuition would also awaken a lot of the things that has been dormant, right? A lot of the things that we have been pushed to the side. So even if one wants to connect in an ancestral realm or connect with an ancestor or like even feel their way throughout life, we have to be connected to ourselves and trust ourselves and trust our intuition,
and stop giving coincidence the reward for stuff that spirit tells us that happens.
Yes.
Stuff that it's just a coincidence.
Right, stuff that our intuition knows, like it's really us.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for grounding us and like, you know, stopping us in the middle, you know, and grounding us. And it's so funny. I'm like feeling like more.
Yeah,
I don't know about you.
I feel lighter now.
I feel lighter now because I was just like, okay, I can see the difference. But so that's why I'm so inspired by the work. So like, I'm really thankful and grateful for you guys, you know, for the message and that you're pouring out there onto us and showing us how to unearth and how to bloom at the same time. And reminding us that don't just focus on what, you know, you need to unearth, but bloom what's blooming.
And then continue to just give yourselves grace throughout that process.
Yeah. So if you had to give a message to our audience on like to unearth and bloom, what would it be?
I would really say I would stick to the trust yourself.
Yeah.
And that unearthing is a process. And we get to do it over and over and over and over again. And relish in the bloom.
Yeah, over water what's blooming. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you for that.
Yes, thank you. It was such a pleasure just speaking with both of you today. This was, I don't know why I'm like at a loss for words, but this was so meaningful for me.
Thank you. And we appreciate you, Fadia, for even like, you know, noticing and acknowledging the work that we're doing, even in Haiti, right? When we first met, like face to face, like the power that you have when you command a room, right? And that doesn't mean like talking loud or anything like that, but you exude this grace and this power that demands other people to pay attention and listen. And you have a lot to say, right? You have meaningful stuff to say. And so thank you for being who you are and for acknowledging, for stepping in your power, right? Even in moments where you feel like you may not be, or there's other things, there will always be other things, right? But you are stepping in your power and you're walking in your power. And I thank you for acknowledging us and blessing us to be a part of the things that you created to be powerful.
Yeah. And oh my God, you're gonna make me cry. Stop it.
Beautiful and sweet.
I know. It's maybe I needed to hear this message more of my audience, like hearing this. But I think like it's so funny because like I think that's what I love about you guys is that the first time I met you guys was when we went to Haiti. That's you know, we worked together, but we never was face to face. And so I'm coming to a room full of all these acknowledged, experienced individuals. I'm like, okay, like we have doctors, we have this, and I'm like, how am I gonna fit in? And just to come into a room and feeling connected the way I did, you guys created the space for me where it's like, no, you can be yourself and I can be my truest self and not worry about anything else. It's almost like all layers came off.
And you walked into your purpose.
Yes, exactly. And then it just made me come back from Haiti, like really made me reflect on myself and my life and like, what am I doing? And the people I was around. And I was like, you know, I needed to be, and I felt uplifted. And so thank you so much for that. So usually before we wrap up, we do a wildcard questions. Okay. So all you gotta do is pick a number from 1 to 10.
What number came up for you? 7? Okay, I was 4. I was 4 or 9. You was 4, right? Yeah. That's what I said. So do you want 4? That's a 4. Okay, 4.
I was gonna say 7 is my number.
Okay, yeah.
Was it 4?
Okay.
Okay. 4 is share a fun fact about you.
Oh, fun fact. Oh, girl.
They have so much fun fact. Come on.
Right, because this is the thing. Because you know, things that we think is other people think is a fun fact, we don't think it's a fun fact. So let me. So let me. That's what I was just like. Okay, what's a fun fact? I could do a headstand without the wall. That's a cool fact. That is a cool fact. And I could come down real slow. All right. What is my fun fact? Child, come on. Give us something to work with. My fun fact is let me think. Oh yes. My fun fact is that I'm an herbalist and I recently made herbal popsicles and skincare products and like all that stuff.
Can you please send us the website so we can get some?
I am into the herbs, honey.
Honey,
I would love to try some. I will buy them.
Yeah, we just had popsicles. Like we just had like some popsicles.
Perfect for the summer.
Yes. Another fun fact about them, and I know they're not sharing it, when it comes to dancing,
They love
dancing and music. Let me tell you something right there. They know every word to the
every word.
I can't. I'm just gonna move, and they got some.
Y'all are my type of ladies. I love music. I'll sing to every song. I'll dance. Yes.
Well, that's awesome. I can't wait to try. Well, let us know where we can find you. I can't wait to try all these interesting things that you're sharing.
Yes. Do you mean for the herb? For the herbs?
Yeah, for the herb or your website, like where if anyone would like to work with you, where can?
Yeah, you all can follow us on IG at Unearthing and Bloom. And for yoga, you all can follow still Unearthing and Bloom, but also Khadijah at Khadi Yogini. That's KHADIYOGINI. Okay, and you can also visit us on our website that just launched today.
Congratulations!
Yes,
all celebration.
www.unearthandbloom.com.
Oh, I love it.
World Wide Web.
That's where you'll find us, period.
Yes. Well, thank you so much, guys, for listening. Thank you again, Zakiyyah and Khadijah, for joining us and blessing us with so much wisdom and grounding us. And I hope that our audience can take something from this. And so if anything resonates with you guys, you know where to find us. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are on IG at millennial_babes_podcast. And if you want to be a guest and leave us reviews about this, this episode, just send us an email at millennialbabes podcast@gmail.com. Thank you.